I'm sure you remember late Captain Batra. What did he do after capturing Tiger Hill? Task which was given to him and he successfully, and it was a major operation. When he was interviewed, what did he say? He said, "Dil mange more."
When we read about Doklam, we really went into panic mode. What is happening? China is again after us. Again, a similar type of aggression did happen. But then after few days, they decided to disengage and go back. What would have been their motive?
China has got 5 theater commands. Bulk of the theater commands, that is 4 of them, are deployed covering the eastern side. Eastern side of China is their major economic hub. Everything is on the eastern side. And one command is looking after the central and the western. PLS presence on the western front was very thin. You keep chasing them, you have another encounter.
You are like a bait to them.
Though you have another encounter, you may kill them. But he also has an option. I adopted a tactics that we will never chase the terrorists after an operation. He will ambush you and he will inflict casualty, and every single life is important for me of my soldier. One wrong decision will change the success into disaster. That was my belief. I'm sure you are aware that till the year 2000, US used to be the number 1 trading partner of the majority in the world. But what happened by 2020?
Many countries
China became the number 1 trading partner of the majority countries in the world.
Hello and welcome to our podcast, Window to the World. Today we have the unique privilege of listening to Lt General Abhay Krishna on the topic Framework of Success. And after having interacted with him and having read multiple articles written by him on global security, fifth generation warfare, etc., I really thought of connecting with him on a prolonged conversation and taking this discussion on our podcast, Window to the World. So we could deep dive and delve into some interesting aspects that might be thought provoking for you viewers as well. It's truly a privilege to welcome Lieutenant General Abhay Krishna on our podcast, Window to the World. He's a very decorated army officer and has been conferred the Param Vishisht Seva Medal, Uttam Yudh Seva Medal, Ati Vishisht Seva Medal, Sena Medal, Vishisht Seva Medal, and Gallantry Award by the Indian Army. The list is endless. I don't know how does one person manage to receive so many awards? Honestly, I think our viewers, including me, we are dumbstruck. So, Abhay Krishna sir has a rare distinction of having commanded 3 army commands: the South, Western, Eastern, and Central Army Commands. He has done his schooling from St. Xavier's, Patna, and after completing his ISc from Patna Science College, he joined the National Defense Academy in 1976 and was commissioned into Rajputana Rifles on 7th June 1980. He has had 8 tenures in Northeast in various capacities and 4 in Jammu and Kashmir besides tenures on the Western Front. He has served as military observer in Mozambique and Rwanda and then later as a chief of staff of UN mission in Burundi. As a part of military diplomacy, Sri Abhay Krishna has led military delegation to China post-Doklam and also to Myanmar and Bhutan. He has the experience of hosting high-level military delegations from US, China, Japan, Myanmar, and Nepal. Lieutenant General Abhay Krishnan is a postgraduate diploma in human rights, international humanitarian and refugees law from Indian Academy of International Law and Diplomacy, Delhi. He also has a diploma in information technology from CDEC, Pune, and has also been accredited as an international associate arbitrator for civil dispute resolution cases. So, initiating the conversation with you, could you share with us what really inspired you to go into the armed forces? Does the army resonate more with you, or like the Indian Air Force or the Navy? We're just here, to listen to your journey, the beginning part of it.
Okay, thank you for giving me this opportunity to interact with you on this platform.
Thank you as well.
And as far as the beginning of journey is concerned, there is no particular choice that the Air Force has a priority over Navy and Navy has a priority over Army. There is nothing like that. What actually happened with me was that we are 4 brothers and sisters.
Okay.
And I was the youngest in the family. And that time, what had happened was that while I was still in school, my father, who was a bureaucrat, he retired.
Okay.
And my eldest sister was a doctor. She was settled in Canada. The eldest brother, he had joined Air Force through ND, of course. And the next brother, he was a doctor in UK. So I was thinking that all of them have gone in different lines. Who is going to follow dad's line? So I was quite fixated on following dad's line. That is to try for the UPSC exam.
Okay.
But for that, you have to complete your graduation.
Yes.
So, but unfortunately, what happened was, I will not say unfortunately, that's the wrong thing to tell. I mean, incidentally, what happened was that when I was in the first year of college, that is the time there was pressure from my sister on my parents to relocate to Canada. Since my father had retired, so she said, there is no point staying there. And so you come here and spend the rest of the life with us and enjoy your life and chill with us. So they said, what about him? So because I was very fixated with UPSC that time, those days. And so they said, she said, bring him along. So I refused to go.
Okay.
So I didn't want to go. I didn't want to migrate to Canada at that stage. So they said, then what will you do? I said, give me some time, I'll decide. And that is how then I decided to fill up the form for NDA.
Okay.
And I gave exam. And since my brother was in Air Force and a distant cousin was in Navy, so I gave Air Force as the first choice because of that, because of the family connection. And second choice I gave Navy, and third was Army.
Army. Okay.
But what happened was that despite qualifying in the SSB, in the medical test, they found some little deficiency in color between red and green in my eye, distant from distant. So they said the only choice for you is to join the Army.
That was the only choice.
And left to join the Army. So I said first class. So this is how I got into the Army. But then it's all destiny. It is the destiny which
it was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Okay. So moving on to the next, threshold every army man or every armed forces person has. So the day you were commissioned from NDA, those batches thing, how did it go? I mean, what was your exact feeling at that moment?
Yeah, that's very interesting what you have asked, because when I take my mind back to those days, it wasn't easy. It was just not easy.
4 years.
Though in the school, I was into sports, big time into sports. And every kind of sports we used to play. And fortunately, my school, the St. Xavier's Patna, they, apart from insisting on the studies, they also insisted a lot on the sports.
Okay.
So one was already a sports person because of the school. And we had a very good father, Scaria as the principal.
Okay.
Very caring, and all the teachers.
You still remember the name? That's
Yeah. So that time, because of that, that sporting culture was there in me. And second was my elder brother, because whenever he used to come on leave, he used to make sure that I go for a run at 5:30 in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning. So that had also made me tough and do all that. So when I joined NDA, physically there was no problem. Because I was already very fit, chust and durust. But after 4 years of hard, rigorous training, that is 3 years in NDA and 1 year at IMA, one feels a great sense of achievement and self-confidence. There is no doubt about it.
The training in itself is so rigorous.
The training is it's not easy. It's very tough. But you enjoy going through it. And the end product of the training is I would say, the transition, or you say the transformation of a young boy into an officer.
A gentleman.
Of course, an officer and a gentleman. And let me tell you that after the peeping ceremony, when that star is put on your shoulder, it makes you feel realization of a dream of beginning of the journey of profession of arms. And it is like getting into a totally new world. So there is super excitement at that time in you because it's a totally new world that you are going to explore now.
So there is an adrenaline gush type of a thing you
Yeah.
can feel. Okay. So moving on, Seva Parmo Dharma. That's the motto Indian Army stands for. So when you first wore the uniform, the first step into the Indian uniform, what did you feel then? Maybe your thoughts and feelings both.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I'll be very honest with you that when I joined my battalion, the 6th Rajputana Rifles, which was located at Jodhpur those days, in June 1980, as a second lieutenant.
Okay.
Though I was very tough into sports and everything, as I told you, but I was still very apprehensive because the fear was inside that I hope I'll be able to meet the
Expectations.
the set standards, connect with all, and live up to their expectations. Because one had heard a lot of stories of the armed forces.
Rajputana is like famous.
During the British time, after the British time. So that apprehension definitely was there. But somehow, let me tell you, the best experience that in my life, from day one, was that I started to feel a very strong sense of immense love and affection coming not only from the soldiers, but also from the senior officers.
That acceptance was there. That inclusion was
exactly.
there.
I mean, I was welcomed as if I am an asset and I am so beloved to them.
Nice.
And that took me by a little surprise. And
but it was a positive surprise.
Yeah. And I must tell you that for a month, I lived with the troops in their barracks.
Oh.
Learned how to even light a stove those days. If you have seen those type of stoves.
I've seen.
And many such like things. And those days, the roads were very few, the vehicles were not many. So most of the time, we were carrying our own bag on our back.
There is a part of the drill also, right?
Yeah,
You're
drill
supposed
also.
to carry weight.
No, I'm talking about when you used to go from one place to the other in Rajasthan. Used to go on foot through the deserts.
The weather was also very harsh.
Yeah. And a couple of nights you had to sleep in the deserts. But then, when I saw that, I mean, the Jawans took care of you as if you were a big, valued personality for them. And such experience in very early stage of the military life and career actually made me feel very emotionally, I would say very strongly emotionally connected with them with a great sense of belonging, togetherness and bonhomie. And suddenly I started to feel that I have a very big, close family network. You know, that is the strength of the Indian Armed Forces. And I felt so emotionally connected that I decided that I will do anything for them as they would do for me. And one more thing I must tell you, that though the senior officers are always very tough in executing their tasks and duties and all that, and they enforce discipline on you, those things. But despite all that, after the office hours, duty hours, they treated me like a member of their own family. And that connect and bondage even continues today.
Till now.
And that is why the Fauj is taken as one big family across the country.
That's
because we are still in touch.
We talk about this clan culture. So it is this type of culture actually which is keeping the Indian Army going.
Yeah, because all those senior officers with whom I had served in 1980s, we are in touch even now.
In touch.
And we keep meeting and interacting and looking after each other.
That's
Where will you find this bonhomie and strong sense of connect?
That's why the strong connect.
Yeah.
Okay. So going on to the next, you are an expert in counter-terrorist and counter-insurgency operations. You have seen many operations in Jammu and Kashmir and Northeast. So I want to know, how do you keep your men under command? I mean, they're so motivated, so dedicated that they're ready to risk their lives, take a bullet in your name. So what gives them that spark of motivation?
Okay. See, the regiment is like a family where each one sees himself as a very, very indispensable member of the family.
Asset. Everyone is an asset.
Asset. That I'm an asset to this family. And when you see as an asset, then you have a lot of sense of responsibility and commitment coming in your head. And leaders in the armed forces, they don't treat their subordinates and the men as a use and throw tool. No. But instead, we treat them as a revered asset. So they also understand this. And the leaders lead from the front with example. Because unless until you give your own example, how will they trust you?
How will they learn?
So, and at the same time, you have to show love, affection, and faith. And then what happens is that with this culture comes the prioritization of the comrades and tasks to be executed over your own life.
So it's like
So,
you are ready to stand up when they need you, and they are ready to stand up when you need them.
yeah. So I will say that how the troops are so motivated. So one is that when you get trained through NDA, IMA and all that, and then when you come to the unit and the way you live there and all that, so a sense of nationalism definitely comes because of that wearing uniform and
Yes,
keeping and all
badges
that.
all around.
Yeah. But you see, apart the rigorous training also builds a discipline in you. And later, when you join the forces with the feeling of as a one family, it builds a sense of collective ego. And the individual ego goes. There is no individual ego. It's a collective ego. And thus, because of that collective ego, you operate as a team caring for each other. And I'll give you the example of the motivation. When I say the collective ego, caring for your comrade. But before that, I'll give you an example of the motivation.
Okay.
I'm sure you remember late Captain Batra.
Yes.
How do you remember him?
News flashing all over.
Yeah, Kargil.
Yeah,
Kargil.
obviously.
What did he do after capturing Tiger Hill? The task which was given to him, and he successfully, and it was a major operation. When he was interviewed, what did he say? He said, "Dil mange more." He knew that the next objective was not necessary for him to go. Some other team also would have been
Could have gone.
But he volunteered. He knew that it is dangerous. But then you see the culture in the DNA or the blood of the armed forces. Dil mange more. So he was ready to take the risk. For what? For the nation, for the sake of his unit, for the sake of his, camaraderie. And then, despite in that operation, second operation, despite being injured, he went on capturing bunker after bunker till he finally laid down his life. And it's only one example. There are umpteen number of such like examples, endless, of motivation.
The shared ego that you said.
Collective ego.
Collective ego. Yeah, that is one thing possibly we can look at. Because we look upon ourselves as individuals, as organizations, but the collective ego is something which I think can be learned.
That is why I have picked up this word collective ego instead of individual ego. Because individual ego, it separates you from the organization.
It will isolate you.
But
this thing will create that bond only and bring you together.
And what are you achieving by this individual ego? So let us see yourself as a team and have a collective ego that we are all one. And
you have my back, I have your back.
Our relationship is not based on give and take.
It's beyond that.
Yes.
So as you grew up in the hierarchy, you have been in roles that required you to take, just decisions in the very split-second decisions, very high-stake decisions, right? Immaculate and enormous pressure. So in those situations, what do you think? In terms of insurgency, if I talk, reformative measures, punitive measures, what is best according to you?
Okay, split-second decision. Now, split-second decision is taken when you are in operations.
Yes, on the field.
On the field, you're in operation, some encounter is going on. So, because there you don't have time to sit and plan. So, you have to take a split-second decision. So, I'll give you one example and you will understand what I mean. There was an encounter when I was commanding a battalion in Kupwara. There was an encounter taking place. And so I got to know, so as a CO, I rushed there. But by the time I reached, the encounter was over. There was no firing on. But the troops had still taken position. So, like a hero, I got down from the vehicle and I walked up and I ran and I climbed a band and asked them that, kahan se fire aa raha tha? तो कौन सा घर है किधर से फायर आ रहा था which house the fire was coming from. So before anybody could answer, there was a havaldar who was standing about 10 feet away from me. He came running and he pushed me down the band. And I slipped, I fell down the bund. And then what happened? Close by, one grenade
It exploded.
landed and exploded. So, because what had happened was that while I was focusing on the house from where the fire had come and encounter taking place, the nearby house, this Havaldar saw one guy coming on the window. So he anticipated that he's going to do something. So instead of saving himself, instead of caring for himself, he first cared for me. And he ran and he pushed me down and took risk on himself. Though hardly I got any injury, but he got some injuries. He got splinters in his body. But still, he was very cheerful and happy because he was feeling very happy
Proud
that he
maybe.
saved his CO. So this is, this is motivation, and this is bonhomie. This is the team spirit. And of course,
It was a split-second decision for him also.
This is an example of split-second decision taken by him.
By him, yes. Of not saving and just running.
Exactly. And now talking about, you said second thing you asked me was high-stake decision.
Yes.
High-stake decision, yes. I don't know, but there are many examples I can give you, but I will give you a very sentimental example. Now, in Kupwara those days in 99, in the area in which we were deployed, there were 9 locals who had joined terrorism, and
they were Indians.
Indians, locals from there, but they had surrendered. So they wanted to surrender and they surrendered, but I decided to reach out to them, and I resettled all of them around my headquarters. Helped them to build their 1 room, 2 room, whatever is there. Helped them. And I decided to take care of them till
Rehabilitation.
till they settle down.
Okay.
Many people told me, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? But I had a long plan, because you see, you have to win hearts and minds of the locals.
Exactly.
When you are operating in such areas. You are fighting with the enemy. You're not fighting with the locals.
They're
That
the
difference
first
you have
line
to
of
understand.
defense.
That difference you have to understand. So what happened? That finally, naturally, you prevailed over their emotions. And let me tell you, in one of the operations, because few of them started to operate along with us, they became our informers. And one of them, he took risk on his life, and he laid down his life for our sake. Can you imagine? A surrendered terrorist.
You must have, brought that trust into him that he could do such a big thing for the country. That reformative thing actually worked on him.
So we resettled his wife, Nasima. We helped her to build a 2-room house there.
Nice.
So we resettled her, we looked after her. And this is again a high-stake decision that I had taken. And
many might not.
Because you see, people will like to stay away from the surrendered terrorists. Why to take panga?
Unnecessary risk, panga kyun hi lena?
Why? And another example I'll give you of high-stake decision. I never let my troops chase the terrorists in jungles.
Okay.
After an operation.
Okay. Why was that so?
Because what happens is that after an operation, when you have managed to kill a couple of terrorists, they have disengaged from yourself. They have run on the top or in the sides.
They have taken shelter somewhere.
They have taken position.
Okay.
Because they know that they can't run away totally. They know that you will chase them. So they take positions and wait for you. So you keep chasing them, you have another encounter.
Okay, you are like a bait to them.
Yeah, though you have another encounter, you may kill them. But he also has an option, better option.
Okay.
So I adopted a tactics that we will never chase the terrorists after an operation.
Okay.
Because he will ambush you and he will inflict casualty, and every single life is important for me of my soldier. So no follow-up and search operation in jungle. One wrong decision will change the success into disaster. That was my belief. Even if we have, say, killed 4 and we lose one, it's a disaster for me.
Ultimately, it is one life.
And I was very sure that soon the same terrorists will come back again. And we will take them again. Lying them and this. So with this strategy that I followed in 2 years there in Kupwara, while we lost 8 soldiers, they sacrificed their life in 2 years. We managed to neutralize 52 terrorists, and it's on record.
2 versus 52.
Yeah, because you see, you have to exercise patience. So this is called high-stake decisions. I thought this example I can give you.
People will be
And-
able to relate. I mean,
And
it's a game of patience.
Yeah, and also I must add here that my immediate boss, he was very, very cooperative, and he understood my tactics right from beginning, and he always stood by me even when the questions used to come from the higher headquarters as why no follow-up operation was done.
He used to answer.
But he used to take care.
He used to
So
handle
that way
them.
I was very lucky to have a great boss.
Very supportive of you.
Yeah, very supportive.
Okay. So talking about bosses and teams. So what I'm curious about is how do you balance the need for authority and discipline with the equally important thing of building trust and communication within your team? How do you manage both those aspects?
You see, this all confines to 3 key leadership principles, which comes to my mind. One is the clarity of mission and intent. And the second is what you call the adaptability and resilience. And by adaptability means that your ability to recover from the setbacks. Because setbacks तो होता ही है, बहुत होता है. But after every setback, if you start giving up, तो मुश्किल है. So, and third is that the military leaders earn respect by sharing hardships. I mean, you have to be with them on ground and do exactly what they are doing. And you have to be ready to make a personal sacrifice. That is why in the armed forces you will see there are colonels and brigadiers laying down lives,
Yes.
because they are with the troops all the time. So that is the leadership. And then consistently it demonstrates the same value that you expect from them. So, I will say that one question that comes to my mind today is that what is one thing which makes me happy as a military leader? If somebody asks me, my answer is only one line: to see my subordinate grow and be successful in life.
So there's a lot of succession planning there.
No, succession planning means that you have to groom.
That is
See,
the role of the leader.
In the role of the leader, because you see, that is what actually makes me happy. If my subordinate does well and he grows, he becomes successful, nothing will give me more happiness than this.
Exactly. That accomplishment
So
is
this is
there.
the bondage between the leader and the subordinates. And let me tell you that here in the armed forces, everybody is not perfect. So you find a lot of junior officers or, the soldiers, some weakness or something wrong they do. But that does not mean that you finish their career. No. The real leadership lies in grooming and improving them, helping them to improve so that he grows better and better and better, and help and guide him to overcome his weaknesses and shortcomings.
Okay.
So this kind of leadership is
So
there in the
like
force.
if we have to change the environment from a military one to the corporate world. So any 3 things that you would like our leaders to follow?
Corporate, I will say that the leaders do articulate, there is no doubt, clear vision and strategic goals. And every team member understands their own role in achieving the organization's objective. And in the business also, you see unforeseen disruptions take place.
That is everywhere.
I mean, you can't help it.
Predicted.
Like the economic downturns
Crisis.
or technological shifts, demand leaders. So, this type of when things take place like economic downturns, it's very easy to throw away your stuff. Nikal do unko.
Got it.
But why can't you reduce the salary of all the staffs? Just reduce the salary and let all the staff
everyone be
continue.
there.
So this is an approach that I suggest. If I was in the corporate leader, I would have done this. So that the team continues to remain.
Okay.
And then lastly, in the corporate domain, the teams definitely will perform better and exhibit the higher levels of commitment when their leaders demonstrate integrity. Because the subordinate has to be very confident about the integrity of the leader. कि सच्चा है, ऑनेस्ट है, दिल से काम करता है, ट्रूथफुल है, एंड प्रायोरिटाइज, एंड ही prioritizes collective success. That not only he is going to take the credit, but the credit will be given to all.
Everyone.
So one has to lead by example, such examples to earn the confidence of the subordinates.
Can we call this shared profit?
Shared, yeah.
Okay.
So this is what actually in corporate, there are a lot of corporates I know, they do this. They follow this. I picked up this from there.
Okay, I think, for all those in leadership roles, whatever Lieutenant General Abhay Krishna said will be really helpful. So going into the helm of Eastern Command where you were in Doklam. So I would rather on behalf of everyone say congratulations, which you really handled well. Like when we read about Doklam, yes, we really went into panic mode. Again, what is happening? China is again after us. But then like 2 years later, we got to know again a similar type of aggression did happen. A similar type of thing happened in Ladakh, if I'm not mistaken. So, but then after a few days, they decided to disengage and go back. So what would have been their motive? Or there was a larger picture which we as civilians are not able to see?
This is such a thing that it's not easy to explain in a short, articulation. But I'll try and very briefly tell you. China has got 5 theater commands. Okay. And the bulk of the theater commands, that is 4 of them, are deployed covering the eastern side. Because 4 of them, because the eastern side of China is their major economic hub. Everything is on the eastern side. And 1 command is looking after the central and the western. So PLA's presence on the western front was very thin.
Okay.
Was. I'm talking about that time. Was very thin. So with the BRI thing, Border Road Initiative coming in, and they're trying to go into Europe and increase their business, then CPEC through Pakistan to Gwadar Port, again it was a business to cut short the route and go directly into the Indian Ocean. So, this thing, I'm 100% sure that these initiatives of China, it definitely started to pose a threat to the US economy. But they knew that to protect all this, they have to increase the presence of the PLA on the western side. And they have to build a lot of infrastructures there, which was not there. So suddenly to relocate a huge PLA that side and start building a lot of infrastructure, it will draw the attention of the world that what is happening. So I feel that they have staged all this drama to keep the attention of the world diverted, that it's a conflict between India and China, between India and China. And in this cover, they started to...
It's a camouflaging technique.
Yeah, they started to relocate their PLA troops on the western front, and they have also started to build a lot of infrastructure on the western front. That our problem is with India. Our problem is with India. And now, what has happened is that they have withdrawn, because that is another reason why they have withdrawn, which I'll explain you a little later. But I must tell you that the border issue which has got settled, but we should not get too much carried away by that border issue has been settled. Because one thing which China has been quietly doing since many years is relocating the Tibetan population close to our border.
Oh.
Now,
how does that help?
Because China is not in a position to get involved with
India
in a war with India. No chance.
No chance.
Because if China does this foolish active of getting involved in a war with India, China has more to lose than to gain. And why I'm saying is, though they may be superior in technology and number of PLA forces on the ground is much more than ours. But then it will give an opportunity to the Western powers to intervene.
Yes.
So
they will not take that risk openly.
Yeah. So by relocating the Tibetan population slowly and slowly closer to our border, it's my personal feeling that in the long term, China is looking into carrying out a demographic invasion into India.
Big statement.
Yeah, demographic invasion. Because if this population settles in large number, gradually the people will start interacting and crossings will increase.
I mean, a lot of porous boundaries there.
Yeah, there is. Because every inch you can't guard, na? It's very difficult. So I think they are into some very big devious games all the time. So let us not get carried away and let us not be very happy that they have disengaged and all that.
We have to be guarded.
We have to still stay guarded.
I believe while you were serving as a UN mission in Mozambique in 1994, I presume,
Yeah.
you were taken as a hostage by the rebels. Could you elaborate on that a bit? And I think you got a gallantry award later after coming back. So what was the thing that happened there?
Yeah, that was a very interesting experience, serving with the UN as a military observer that first time, and that also in a place like Mozambique in 94. Because what had happened was that in 1992, the civil war had ended after going for decades.
Decades, yes.
And then all the rebels forces, they had to be demobilized and resettled. So this is where the UN was there to help out the government. And a lot of
the
camps,
local government.
Local government. And a lot of camps were established where these rebel soldiers, they used to come in groups and then they used to be registered there. And then they deposited their arms. They used to live in the camp. And then once their order used to come, we used to prepare the papers, send it to the government. Orders used to come and then either they were taken into the Mozambican army or they were resettled somewhere with money and all those things. So I was also working in one of the jungle camp, which was close to a place called Bera. And we were total, I think, if I remember correctly, we were 6 officers from different countries. Yeah. But what happened was that there was one group of rebels who had surrendered quite some time back, but their orders were not coming. And 3 groups who had come after them, their orders had come and they were resettled. So this group was getting agitated. And a similar thing had already happened earlier, where they had revolted and, they had looted the armory and fired and all that. And then everybody had to run away to save life. So one night, a gang of these rebels came, their leaders, and they came and they talked to us.
How many of them, maybe?
I don't know, but 8-10 of them they came. And they said that we want to talk to you. So we were six of us there from different countries. So then they said that by tomorrow, if our orders don't come, then you have it. And after saying this, he went away. So we discussed among ourselves. So 3 out of 6
members,
they decided to go away.
Take the shortcut and move away.
They just said, I'm leaving. So they left. Then 3 of us remained there. One was a Hungarian officer, one was a Spanish officer, and one was me. So we discussed amongst ourselves. So we said, no, we will not leave because it will be a big embarrassment for the rest of the life. That we got scared.
The Anban Shan.
Yeah. So what we'll do is, we'll try and handle it. Let us see what they do. So because risk is always there on life. So what is new? So this kind of discussion we had. So 3 of us decided to stay back and the balance 3, they disappeared. So in the morning, sure enough, they came. They said, just check when are the orders coming. So the Spanish officer, he spoke in Portuguese. He said, it will take some time, more time. So he said, okay, get up, all 3 of you. And they took us at one place and made us sit there. And they ransacked our camp, living areas.
Okay.
And they made us continue to sit there more than 24 hours. And they looted the armory. They started firing all over. There was an airport nearby. All the flights stopped. Nobody could operate. And there was a tension all over. So
That doesn't create any panic situation for you? I mean, at that time, what
No,
was the
but
thing?
we had already accepted to be there. So why to get
It was my
panicky?
choice.
We were just thinking how to handle it. So we discussed among ourselves because we were sitting together. They were not allowing us to do anything else, making us confined at one place.
Please.
So the Spanish said, he'll let us talk to them. So because he could speak Portuguese very fluently, I could not speak so fluently, though I knew Portuguese. So we called them, we requested them, we did like this, please come and talk to us. By then 24 hours had already passed and we were still in that position. So they came and the Spanish officer then started talking that give us a chance and we will make sure that your thing comes. But before that, you will have to help us to speak to the UN headquarters. So then he brought a satellite phone. They had a satellite phone. And by then it was the end of the second day almost. So finally, the Italian general who was there, from the UN, who was handling all this, he and the rebels could talk. So then the rebels came and he said, who wants to talk out of we three? So the Spanish said that you speak because you can speak in English better. So you speak. So that
the
phone
phone.
was given. So that general asked that about the situation. Then he said, what threat are you feeling on your life? So that time that rebel who had given me that satellite phone, he was also keeping his barrel here. So I said, no, though he's keeping his barrel on my head, but I don't feel any threat.
Right.
Then I heard somebody telling the general, no, I think this officer has lost his mind. So I said, excuse me, I have
How
not
can you
lost
be
my
so
mind.
cool? Right.
I have not lost my mind. What I'm saying with logic. So let us give them an opportunity again by preparing their papers. So he said, okay, you coordinate and let us know if we can come over. So we said, okay. Uske baad, then we talked to the rebels again that give us some time. So next 24 hours, we just kept working to prepare all their papers again.
Documentation
Yeah.
part.
And then we asked them that please allow us to go and hand over the paper. So again,
By then, 2 days had elapsed? 2 days had elapsed?
yeah, it was third day.
Third
We were
day,
at the
okay.
third day. So then two vehicles they took with their guns and all that, made me sit inside. And they took me to the UN headquarters and said, they hand over the paper and come back fast. So I handed the paper. Then in the UN headquarters, they said, why are you going back? I said, if I don't go back, what will happen to them?
Other two.
So I just ran and sat in the vehicle. And when I came back and sat with the rebels and I said, your work is done, take me back. They suddenly were very happy.
Okay.
So then they said, what do you want to eat? So
Eat?
eat.
Okay.
So en route we stopped and we bought some bread and all that.
Okay.
And we came to the camp. They became very soft. Then the Italian general again called up on that radio. And then we coordinated with the rebels that he can come. So they all visited. He brought a BBC team along.
Oh.
So then BBC took interviews and all that. Then again, the rebels started to get agitated. They said, no, the BBC team will stay here.
Where, in the camp?
Yeah. So again, we approached the rebels. I said, allow them to go because they are the ones who will publicize your case. If you keep them here, who will publicize
Prachar,
your case?
prasar.
Yeah, prachar, prasar. So then they went away. They were very happy and things really worked very well. Then all actions were taken fast. And finally, the rebel movement finished. We were released and they were assured of the action to be taken. But they said that we will not deposit the weapon till you get us the orders of demobilization. But definitely they released us on the fifth day. So this is how the whole crisis was handled and settled. Without any injury, without any violence or anything.
This is diplomacy in some other level, actually. It's not between countries, it's with rebels.
Maybe, and again, I will say this was a split decision.
It was a split decision thing. I mean, how you approach the situation when 3 of them already ran away.
So first we took a split decision, next day we took a high-stake decision.
Nice one. So, like, currently we see a lot of brittleness in the environment. The global security scenario is changing. I mean, like almost like wars and all are happening in Russia, Ukraine, Iran, Israel, strong forces going
okay.
around.
Understood.
So, like, what would be your understanding of India's defense strategy, considering all these forces in place?
First of all, I must tell you that this ongoing Russian-Ukraine war and the Israel-Hamas war conflict is very much now extending to Iran,
Yes.
thereby affecting the entire Middle East and the trade through the Red Sea.
The Red Sea, yes.
Then when you see the internal, turmoil in the neighboring countries, including Pakistan, Bangladesh, Myanmar, or our northeast states, what indicates? It clearly gives an indication of a larger game plan by certain Western powers. Essentially, to cut off the trade routes of both China and Russia and weaken them economically. Now, I'll give you the example of Nostradam. Nostradam is all cut. CPEC is all cut. Seatway Port gone. And then the BRI is also under threat. So we are also actually already seeing increasing presence of US Navy in South China Sea and Japan. So all these things are indicative of a much larger game. And now I'll give you the background why I'm saying all this is. I'm sure you are aware that till the year 2000, US used to be the #1 trading partner of the majority in the world by 2000. But what happened by 2020?
Many countries
China
have taken
became
over.
the #1 trading partner of the majority countries in the world. So naturally, the US had to
They're
feel
feeling
insecure.
threatened.
Is secure as far economy is concerned. And US biggest enemy is RIC. I call RIC. Russia, Iran, China.
Okay.
The biggest enemy. And I'll give you another example of NATO. Why was NATO constituted? NATO was constituted to counter USSR on bahana of
Russia.
USSR. If USSR is there, then NATO is there. But when the USSR ceased to exist since 1991, why is NATO still existing and also growing?
It's
Because
growing.
the logic of raising NATO was to counter USSR on the similar lines. So what is the intent of US today? Is it an intent to impose a unipolar world? Now, another very interesting example I'll give you. Liberation of Goa. Goa was liberated by us in 1961 from the Portuguese control.
Yes.
And Portuguese are part of NATO. But when you see the Wikipedia, when you type this liberation of Goa in Wikipedia, the Wikipedia does not mention liberation of Goa. It mentions annexation of Goa.
Okay. Have to go and check.
Yeah, it is showing that India has annexed Goa. You see the bias. This is the bias I'm talking about. So my fear is that will this current threat landscape, Russia-Ukraine war, Middle East, then
Iran, Israel.
Myanmar, Bangladesh, our northeast, will it further extend to Taiwan and then later to North Korea, encircling China and Russia from all sides? That is the question which is going on in my mind.
Okay, it might happen so.
You never know. Because I don't want to sound like an astrologer.
But many of your
I'm talking out of my analysis.
So many of the publications that you have written, many of them have come to be true. So you never know. That's what I have to say. So lots of warfare.
No, I write after a lot of research.
Yeah. It's thoroughly researched.
Yeah, and then I do my own analysis.
With the world feeling more brittle and unpredictable, what do you believe should be India's defense strategy?
Basically, in such a scenario which I explained to you just now, where it looks that China and Russia are being encircled from all sides, it's a very good question that in such a scenario, where does India stand? Now, India very smartly has already announced that we follow strategic autonomy without binding alliance. That means our alliance will be based on interest. So at global level competition, no one is a permanent friend because all are competitors with their own self-interest as priority. So we thus need a multipolar world and not a unipolar world, or even not a bipolar world. Because we can't have one dictator, overruling over the world. So that is why I consider our foreign minister as just fantastic. Because
he has made many statements.
Yeah, so many things he has done and the way he is planning and going ahead. And let me tell you, he is the only foreign minister in the world who has taken a flight to Tehran, and then from Tehran he has taken to flight to Riyadh.
Okay, that's interesting.
So that is what I'm saying, that we must therefore, leverage our geographical advantage. If you see India,
placed very strategically.
Yeah, if you see Asia and see Asia as one mass, what do we appear? We appear as a unsinkable ship protruding into the Indian Ocean. Yeah, jutting into the Indian Ocean, as you call it. So we must leverage this geographical advantage to dominate the entire Indian Ocean, from where 70% of the world trade passes. And thus, there will be a lot of effort put by all the powers in the world to focus, on the our own anti-national media, academia, and NGOs, to push them to promote a negative narrative within our own country, so that all our effort towards this gets diverted here and diluted. So we therefore need to understand the unfolding global security scenario, and then accordingly we should prepare ourselves to tackle both the internal and external security threats. And then, of course, there are a lot many other things we need to do.
Is it a zarurat ki dosti that we are doing?
No, it's not. You can't say zarurat ki dosti. It is a strategic autonomy that we are not getting dictated by any binding alliance. And our alliance will be based on intelligence. The interest. And that is why I'm saying that we also need to tackle the situation prevailing in the Northeast. And we also need to tackle the cross-border terrorism.
Bangladesh and all. In Bangladesh.
The tensions, then cyber security issues, then the influx of illegal migrants, and especially through Nepal, Bhutan, Northeast, Sundarbans, sea coast. And then also we must see and be careful shifting the geopolitical alliance. We are already participating in multi-forums like Quad, and how it impacts India's posture. So that is why you can't have a fixed alliance. But it's also not easy.
It's dynamic.
It's also not easy to have a strategic autonomy.
It's difficult, definitely. So talking about warfare and all, we see a lot of technological advancements in the field of warfare. So what do you feel? I mean, like, human interventions will still be there, human strategy will still be there, or it will be overpowered by technological advancements? Man versus machine.
That is foot soldier. Okay. The growing technologies, you will agree with me that it is definitely altering the speed and the size of destruction in any conflict. And it's drone, robo mules, then robo soldiers, and hypersonic missiles, and many other things. But let me assure you, I'm not being biased because I am a foot soldier myself. The boots on ground can never be replaced. And why I'm saying is this, that irrespective of the destruction or damage all these technology can do, the boots on ground will be required to physically take over the destroyed city, eliminate every single pocket of resistance. You need to capture. And that capture has to be done physically.
Physically, right.
So the Indian Army trains for such operations, that also for counter-terrorist operations in cities, involving what? Involving breaching houses, buildings. So you will need well-trained boots on the ground, definitely, to occupy your targets and ground physically and secure them an asset. But no technology can replace boots on the ground.
Okay. So, like with AI coming in, still you feel, I mean, ultimately it will be the human strategy that will
AI
work.
will be there. So all these, I told you that you can damage and destroy the city, definitely. But thereafter, you need human beings to capture it.
Capture it. Capturing is the keyword. Okay, so we have been seeing a lot of Indianization on the technological foray in India. So, what is what is your perspective for this strong push for Indianization that is going around in the country?
Indianization.
Yes.
Let me explain you in a little different way. You have seen the ongoing conflict in Ukraine.
Yes.
Now, this has provided us a very alarming lesson on the perils of relying too heavily on the foreign military aid.
Yes.
Ukraine, which lacks a robust defense manufacturing base, has been able to sustain its war effort largely due to what? Due to the continuous arms supplies from the United States and other NATO allies. Definitely. So Ukraine is like what? It's like a puppet in the hands of the big Western powers. So for India, therefore, to secure a long-term defense needs, we must invest in developing our own technology, which we have started to do, from engines to small arms, and relying on imports or foreign partners with competing interest will only weaken India's strategic independence in the long run. That is my take. So indigenization is a very, very good move.
So government should invest more in like the companies
more
who are...
invest, huh? Okay. And we should also get to start exporting defense equipment.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Stop. Importing is one level. We should be focusing on exports
because it will help our economy to grow. And when the economy grows, then your military also gets stronger and stronger.
Power. Yeah, gets more power.
So everything is related. But let's not depend totally on the supplies coming from outside.
So we should be Atmanirbhar on that front.
Atmanirbhar, yes.
Okay. So talking about all these technologies, let's go further into space. So now we see space also getting conquered by many technologies. So what has been India's contribution in that domain so far?
Space.
Yes.
Space industry, definitely. I mean, today the space is very, very critical, because if you dominate space, then you dominate the world. So I will say that while we have started to make significant progress in the space industry, developing long-range missiles. I'm telling you, as far as I know, we have developed Agni 5 also.
Okay.
It's a ground-based and K4 submarines, ballistic missiles. And why I'm naming these two is because now we are in a position to hit China's east coast, which is their key economic and technical development hub.
What will be that range, the ballistic missile that you are telling?
5,000 kilometers.
Wow. Simply wow.
So, yeah. So I mean, the Pearl River Delta. So now we are able to reach the China's eastern coast. Earlier we were not. So these are very good strengths that we are developing in the space industry.
Okay, that will give a lot of boost, to the people listening.
Yeah. But what is even more important and critical is that we need to work on developing anti-satellite weapons capable of targeting hostile satellites. And not only in the low Earth, we have that to.
So is it the fifth generation warfare will be related to all these aspects?
Fifth generation warfare is also related. But what I'm saying is that, we have the satellites will be in lower than high and the polar orbits also. But we have developed the capability to target in the lower Earth. But we also need to develop the capability to target these satellites in the polar orbits. And India has already demonstrated its ASAT capability with successful trials.
Okay. So we are.
Now, I'm sure you must have heard about Mission Shakti, which the test was in March 2019. Yeah, and making it what India as the fourth nation, fourth to achieve this capability after US, Russia, and China.
China, yeah.
So it's a very remarkable achievement. There is no doubt of it, and thus we have entered into an elite club, shaking China. And to protect all these, to protect all these, India needs to develop a robust cyber security.
Lots of cyber attacks.
Cyber security system and ensure protection from the growing instances of malicious cyber attack. You know why I'm saying is because I feel we are heading to see a cyber pandemic engulfing the world sooner than later.
Cyber pandemic.
Pandemic engulfing the world sooner than later. I have a very strong feeling. Because a number of cyber attack trials have already taken place in last 2 years in many countries, and especially in the US in the last 2 years. And I wonder if we are ready to protect ourselves. And just imagine what a chaos it will create if suddenly all the people in the country see their bank balance in the savings account showing zero figure.
Horrendous.
And this has already been experienced in Iran, 14th August. You know what chaos it had taken place. And recently, last month, a similar attack has been done in Bank of America, where 20,000 customers suddenly found their balance account showing zero.
20,000.
Yeah, but after 4 days, it was restored.
Reverted.
So that is why I suspect that maybe it was a trial.
Possible. Also very dangerous.
So just imagine this happening in our country. Do we have any protection? We must start thinking on protecting ourselves from a cyber pandemic engulfing this world sooner than later.
Viewers take notice. Cyber pandemic.
Pandemic.
Okay. So talking about neighbors like Bangladesh, the new government has been formed. Obviously, we know with the help of US, we know it. So any other major things that we might be anticipating there?
See, I'll be very frank enough to say that it's not only Bangladesh, but the whole thing relates to the complete East. And you must have seen that since a decade ago, one started to notice a very significant change towards the peace, development, and the progress in the Northeast states. And our Prime Minister had even announced that Northeast will turn into an international horticulture hub. Because Northeast is blessed with commodities and forest and everything. And we also went in for India-Myanmar Friendship Road, trying to connect right up to Singapore.
Okay.
So that we get connected by road to the Southeast Asia countries. Yeah.
But that didn't materialize, I believe.
No, it has not been materialized because the whole area has been put under turmoil. And I'm sure you will recall that the foreign powers involvement, or you say the anti-social, inimical forces, call them anything, they have been increasingly very active in our country since 2016.
Any reason?
I feel that it started off because we started to dump the dollar.
Okay.
We have started to dump the dollar since then. We are
after 2014, actually.
Yeah, we have started to gradually get into agreement with a lot of countries to trade in our own currency. And I'm sure recently you must have heard the statements coming from US, coming from Trump also. So, and also, despite the warning from the US, still we went ahead with S-400, deal with Russia. I'm sure you will remember. We continue to buy oil from Iran. In rupee. And then we joined SCO also. And we conducted military exercises also. And then we started to build mechanisms to strengthen our commitments to BRICS. Which again, Trump doesn't seem to be very happy with BRICS. And then we also refused to join RCEP. So since then, I feel that they have started to use the MAN strategy.
What is that?
What is that? I know you will ask, what is that? MAN strategy. It is MAN.
Okay.
It is funding certain media, academia, certain universities and think tanks and NGOs.
Media, academia, and NGOs.
Yeah, NGOs. So man strategy. I call it as man strategy. And I will not hesitate in saying that maybe, possibly few political parties also.
Okay.
So we are seeing a phase of fifth generation warfare. And guys from these domains within our country are providing support to the devious games clandestinely being played by our inimical forces. And it has become very obvious. And whether it is restarting the Khalistan issue, though there is no local support, I'm very happy about it, or pushing for a Christian, nation in the northeast,
Mizoram.
called the Zoland, or promising promoting Islamic extremism in Kerala or Bengal, or creating a north-south divide, conflict, or dividing people between Hindi and non-Hindi speakers. All these things have happened, and majorly happened in the last 2-3 years. We have all seen. So when all these happen, foreign powers will definitely find reasons to intervene in the name of saving democracy. And if you go in the history, it has happened in many countries.
Many countries, yes.
And then what happens that beside taking over control they also take control of the resources.
Yes.
So use the country as a fodder to achieve their larger goals of countering their bigger enemies. So these are my thoughts. This is how I'm looking. But one thing which many people seem to be very worried about is that the CM Mizoram's statement which he made in US, talking about a zone nation. Yeah, that he's doing this and he's trying to create a separate nation. All that. No, there is nothing to worry about the Chief Minister Mizoram's statement given in US calling for a creation of a zone nation. Now you will ask me why he was saying this.
Definitely. So you're predicting me.
Yeah, he is not calling for creation of a separate country. Essentially, what he is aiming at, that we must see. He is aiming at integrating the Chin state of Myanmar and Chittagong Hills
Of
of
Bangladesh.
Bangladesh into a greater Mizoram. As all the inhabitants in these areas are of the same
Christianity they follow, right?
same identity. And I would say that possibly all of them see that this was a big mistake that was done while carving out the borders at the time of independence and taking away these areas from Mizoram while they are all Mizos. So nothing to worry what he has said. And let me tell you that if we manage to integrate these areas into Mizoram, then I will recommend one more area to be integrated. That is Arakan.
Okay.
With the
With
Mizoram.
Mizoram. Yes.
So then that whole area becomes actually with one identity, and we stand to gain a lot.
Yes, definitely. Lots of resources in the northeastern part. New government in Bangladesh has been set up recently, and we presume US has a role to play. So do you anticipate any other major development in and around Bangladesh?
Yes, I'll be very honest with you that again, as far as I know, what little inputs and the research I've done, I'm anticipating that sooner than later, US will establish, or US is going to establish, a military base at St. Martin Island, like they have done on Diego Garcia. So if that happens, then where are we heading to? Pakistan is already under their total control of the Western powers. And now so would be Myanmar. And Bangladesh is already under their control. So where does our interest lie now? And not only our interest, and China's interest. And you must have seen that fearing this likely development, China has already started to reach out to Bangladesh. And that is why I'm saying that we have to protect our interest and not let such devious games succeed in our neighborhood. And that is why I had mentioned that the world politics is grey. It is not black and white. And we have been taking very, very smart and careful steps, leveraging our strength. And that is why I said, hats off to our foreign minister.
So any examples that you can quote where where like the foreign minister has taken a perspective and we are proud about it. Some examples.
There are umpteen.
Because he has been making statements.
Yeah, there are umpteen. But I will quote a very interesting example. The Adani Group, much talked about in the news and all that. But I would say that with its extensive global infrastructure portfolio, which the Adani Group has, ranging from ports in Haifa, Israel, Sabang, Indonesia, and if I remember correctly, Da Nang in Vietnam, and many more. And also renewable energy initiatives that has been taken. It serves a dual purpose, not only commercial, but geopolitical influence as well by increasing our footprint.
Okay.
For example, I'll talk about Da Nang. What Da Nang strengthens us? It strengthens the India's presence in Vietnam, who is a key partner in balancing China's domination. And then that is in the South Sea. And then similarly, Haifa port,
Israel.
yeah, which is in Israel, which is our port. It provides India a foothold in the Mediterranean. And with Sabang, that enhances its influence in the Indo-Pacific Ocean. So you see how gradually we have spread our footprint. And of course, all these have been done by the Adani Group. And this mirrors the role chaebols like Samsung or I would say Hyundai played in South Korea's development. And if I remember correctly, the Karatsu in Japan, and where the conglomerates served as vehicles for national economic and strategic objectives. And there are many more examples in US, in Russia, and in China, etc. So my take is that Adani-like business houses exemplifies how India is blending the corporate and state power to shape its position
Foothold
in the
and
competitive
increase.
multipolar world. That is how I take it.
Okay, so moving on to like the northeast again. So we know like things are happening in Mizoram and Manipur. So a lot of Chin refugees we are seeing in Mizoram, a lot of influx. So what should be our strategy for that? What do you do with it? It's a problem, definitely. So how do you address it?
Yeah, Chin refugees have come in a very big number from Myanmar after the turmoil started. And I can only say that it is India's responsibility to ensure safety and well-being of all ethnic minorities in Myanmar, and who share actually deep civilizational ties with India. So it's our responsibility. And these communities, such as Chin, Arakan, like I said, join Arakan also, and even the Naga people, they are all fighting for democracy and their civil liberties. So given our strong working relationship with the Myanmar military, or Janta as you call military, India can convey very nicely that we are not seeking to provide any lethal aid, but rather our focus is on protecting these ethnic minorities and ensuring their security. Our goal is to swiftly end this conflict, return to stability, and then a pathway for the refugees to safely return to their homes and resettle, rebuild their lives. I think this is what we must do. We must get in touch with the Myanmar army and start working on this.
Right. So again, going back to Manipur, the dispute between Kukis and Meiteis. What do you have to say about that?
Dispute between
Kukis and the Meiteis.
Acha. So what is going on in the
Manipur?
Well, see, I'll be very honest with you that I have had 3 tenures in Manipur and 2 tenures in Nagaland in tough times of the ongoing insurgency. But let me tell you that my experience, personal experience, having served on the ground, I have found the people of Northeast very sweet, with rich cultural legacy and ethos. One has to reach out and connect with them on the ground to understand them better. And they are very kind-hearted and loving. I'm being very honest because I've seen so many times. And once you manage to connect with them on ground, they look at you very affectionately. And I can say from my own experience that the common people in Manipur, be it Maithi or Kuki, or anybody, Tadao, Paite, Pangal, in heart of heart, they just don't support the ongoing violence. The common people, irrespective of which community you are from or which tribe you are from, they are not supporting the violence. Because these are created by certain groups
Who have vested interests.
who are vested and they are supported and funded by foreign powers. They are doing it. Because finally, who suffers? It is the common man.
Suffer.
And they know about it and they understand this very well. So with these groups, will these groups compensate them?
No.
Why should they compensate? No way. The suffering common mass are stuck in the refugee camps. The schools are also not
Closed.
functioning properly. Their earning has stopped. Their business has gone. And they are suffering endlessly like prisoners in those refugee camps. So I think we need to focus very deeply on how to win the hearts and minds of this common mass and reach out to these groups who are creating all these problems and perpetuating this violent atmosphere and talk to them with strength, with a strong arm. And at the same time, also be prepared to hit these groups very hard who are involved and are not ready to reconcile with an opportunity given by you to talk and resolve the issues. Though it is not very easy and simple to give a solution sitting here, one-to-one, face-to-face, in few sentences, because the hidden game that is being played is much bigger than what is seen on the ground.
Actually seen, yes.
Yeah. So that is why it is very important for us to connect with the common mass.
So, okay, moving from like insurgency, going to a very soft theme, I would say. We often say the pen is mightier than the sword.
Pen.
Yes,
Okay.
the pen is mightier than the sword. So, do you think, I mean, this is a old like adage that we have learned from schools. So, given the current environment, do you really believe this sentiment holds true? I mean, in military life and strategy now, in the current context?
So you are comparing pen and sword.
Yes.
If they are same.
Yes.
Or who is more powerful?
Strong?
Achha, who is more strong?
Who is stronger? Who is more mightier?
That's a very good question you asked. Modern military conflicts, modern military conflicts, it involves what? Information warfare.
Yes.
And information war tantamounts to what? Controlling the narrative. And this narrative is built by what? It is built by the pen in the form of media, intelligence, and public relations. And this plays a pivotal role in shaping the perception. How do you look at things? How you understand the thing? And that affects the morale. So this is where the pen comes.
The pen starts it?
The pen starts. Because all the perception management strategies starts with the pen. No? You have to build the plan. I will also tell you about, if you remember the Cold War, the fall of the Berlin Wall,
yes,
and the collapse of the Soviet Union. Now, all these did not happen by an armed conflict. It happened because they got influenced by the ideological and economic pressure. So the pen is not working now, it's been working since ages. So I'll be very frank and straightforward in saying that both have a very important role to play. But my conviction is that both the pen and the sword can't work individually. They have to work together. And in situations of immediate physical threat, the sword
has to come in play.
Is indispensable. So diplomacy or negotiation requires what? The backdrop of a military strength.
Yes.
जब पीछे हाथ में डंडा है तभी तो. And then the peace treaties are negotiated through after the show of the military strength. Then only you go for the peace treaties. So military strength actually provides us stability necessary for diplomacy.
So, military strength is the backdrop, and then treaties get signed.
Yeah,
with the
so I'll just tell you that I'm convinced that if India is looking at turning into a global power, with our rising economic power, we must not ignore our military power to spread our foot on the ground at global level. And therefore, military diplomacy must be treated as an important tool for our foreign policy to prevail. So
It's the
I want to
ultimate
leave this
strategy.
message here. Yeah.
It's a strong message for our
Yeah.
viewers. So, obviously, in like when you are on the field, there are moments when you like come across failures. So, is there any particular quote or any phrase that you get remembered, or you just have to revisit to boost up yourself at those moments?
Okay. Now, I must tell you, you will agree with me that everyone faces some setback or the other in life. I am yet to find anybody who has not had any setback or tough time in life. So that is why I always suggest and advise everybody that never see any tough situation or a tough phase as a problem.
Quote unquote.
Yeah. Instead, take it as a challenge. And the moment you take it as a challenge, you'll find 10 ways to handle it. And it's my childhood experience. When my father retired, we had to vacate the bungalow within 4 weeks, move into a 2-bedroom house, and we had to leave a lot of things behind. So suddenly, and from a chauffeur-driven car, I had to move to bicycle, cycling, because all had gone. So that is why I say that never think that the chair and power that you enjoy today
will be the same
is
tomorrow.
going to stay with you, because time and tide doesn't wait for anybody.
For anyone. Right.
So stay rooted to the ground, be honest and humble, no ghamand about your position
Kursi.
and appointment, because nothing belongs to you permanently, except one thing, and
What
that
is
is
that?
human connect that you build up
The touch,
in your
yes.
entire journey of life. And most of the contacts which you feel that they are with you, most of these actually cut off when they have nothing to gain or lose from you. But all these things, most of the people realize only later. But sooner you realize, happier you will be in life.
You will not
I
have
can assure you.
expectations.
I can assure you. Because I realized it very early in life, in the school,
Okay.
when my father retired.
Okay.
Yeah. And so coming back, one thing you wanted to know was some quote which inspires me most. So one of the most inspiring phrase I often reflect is that success is not final. Success is never
Permanent.
final. And also I must tell you that failure is not fatal.
Yes.
So then it is the courage to continue that counts.
Failures will come, but then you have to overcome and get going.
Courage to continue, that counts. So this is the phrase which actually inspires me a lot. And this is attributed to Winston Churchill.
Churchill. Okay.
Yeah. So you fail 10 times, but if you succeed the 11th time, you will be seen as a big successful, and nobody will remember your 10 failures earlier. They will only focus and talk about your 11th
one successful attempt. Yes.
So, finally, I would tell you that struggle makes life very meaningful.
It adds value every moment.
Yeah, that time you may find very,
Jeopardized.
upset, impulsive and all that. But when you look back, then you realize that out of that struggle, there was a lot of learning in life.
Actually.
So it makes life very meaningful. And that is why I believe that enjoy life in handling challenges, which makes you humble and mentally and emotionally very strong.
Okay, so that is the message you'd be giving to our viewers?
Yes.
Okay. So life is, you don't call it a problem, quote unquote. Everything is a challenge which you can overcome.
The moment you see as a problem, then you start using your finger to blame. So why you saying problem? Say challenge. And when you say challenge, then you will find 10 ways to handle it. That is how I look at it.
It's a very powerful message. I hope the viewers get it. It was nice listening from you. I, on behalf of the entire BEML team, thank you for gracing us with your presence. The experience and the expertise which you have shared today is truly, truly invaluable. So I can say that your insights have created indelible impressions in our minds, BML, and for all who are listening to this or viewing this. So salute to you and our soldier fraternity for keeping us safe and for being proud sons of Mother India. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Today I'm very happy that I have lived up to your expectations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
sir.
much.
Thank you so much.